All right, Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory is to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the sincere brethren out there that's laboring in his work and continue to push out this gospel in all diligence, truth, faith, and sincerity. So yeah, the topic of this lesson is pretty much going to be centered around sifting and recognizing when you're being sifted. Because the attribute you want to be able to possess is foreshadowing, all right? You should desire the power of foresight. The scriptures tell you that a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. Because we all know when you come into this truth, the main ingredient is sight, all right? Your sight is restored. You're able to see what these scriptures talking about. But like Paul said, you want to be able to exercise your senses, have a keen sense of discernment. And knowing when you're being sifted, that's a major attribute. That's a plus, all right? To actually know when the Heavenly Father's sifting you, man. Now, it's a term that I like to use, recognize and react. Meaning, you can't react to nothing if you don't recognize it. If you under attack, you can't react to that attack unless you recognize that the attack is coming. And when you're sifted, if you don't know you are being sifted, then you could be overthrown, all right? And if you don't know what sifting entails, then you surely will be overthrown. Now, I got the definition for the word sift queued up, and it's an excerpt from Luke, the 22nd chapter, the 31st verse, where our Lord Yahweh Shai told Peter that Satan desired to sift him. Now, the definition says to sift, shake, and a sieve, by inward agitation to try one's faith to the verge of overthrow, right? So sifting is pretty much an inward process. And I have done videos on this subject, and I like to allude to this, that this truth is the ultimate mental game. That's why the scriptures stress wisdom. And wisdom is on display through your mind, all right? Meaning that this whole journey is a mental game. So the definition of sift, all right, inward agitation, meaning in your mind. So whenever things arise and you're agitated, when you agitated, then that means you're being sifted, man. Which we know in this walk, all right, on this path, we are constantly agitated. That's why the scriptures say, make not haste and constantly endure, because we are constantly being sifted, man. We're constantly being sifted and agitated inwardly. And that actually leads to the outward man suffering. It's a saying, the mind suffers and the body pay for it. All right? So again, it says, by inward agitation to try one's faith to the verge of overthrow. And we have seen that. We have seen men become overthrown, or become agitated, should I say, to the point of them being overthrown. The latest example, those guys, I think it was Miami, who became agitated with the decree that the Apostle Tahar sent out. And they was like, yo, man, that's not in the scriptures, man. You got to do 3 videos a week. They was agitated, And who agitated them? The Heavenly Father, man. He sent the spiritual being Satan to sift them, man. And it came by way of that decree. When you consider these fallouts who talk shit, Nazariah, these guys was agitated, meaning they was sifted. So when you find yourself agitated, which we're all agitated all the time, you might be trying to put some stuff together, money don't come out right, your car break down, all right? Your woman might be bugging out. Anything, man. Then guess what? You're being sifted. And you got to understand that. You got to know when you're being sifted, all right? Now, I want to get a couple of examples of men of the Lord being sifted and being agitated, all right? And the first example I want to get is Job. We all know Job is pretty much the poster child for the elect, man. All right, the story of Job is basically a foreshadowing of what the elect is going to endure. All right, being in a state of ease, then the Lord, tempt you, then you are brought to a lower state, which lines up with Sirach, the 2nd chapter. Then you are agitated, all right? But if you endure that agitation or that sifting, then you're going to be exalted in the end. The story of Job is a foreshadowing of the elect, okay? So I'm going to just get right into it. This is Job 7, and I'm going to start at verse 13. It says, when I say my bed shall comfort me, my couch shall ease my complaint, then thou scarest me with dreams and terrifies me through visions. So this is Job complaining, okay? Verse 15, so that my soul chooseth strangling and death rather than my life. Yeah, and at times, men of the Lord feel that way, man. You feel like you just rather taste death than to continue in this state, man. Being in this truth could drive you to the brinks of insanity. But if you're a part of the elect, the Lord is going to pull you through. Verse 16, I loathe it. I would not live always. Let me alone, for my days are vanity. Who you think Job is talking to right here, man? He's talking to the Most High, man. He's telling the Most High to leave him alone. Meaning what? The Most High is agitating him. If you consider like a gnat, something as small as a gnat or a fly flying around you, man, shit agitate, man. Small as that is, you fuck around and swing and, might hit your hand against the wall, man. All right? Or all type of things, man. Like I said, your car, at work, your woman or whatever. This is you being sifted. This is you being agitated. So again, it says, I loathe it. I would not live always. Let me alone, for my days are vanity. Where is man that thou shouldest magnify him, and that thou shouldest set thine heart upon him? Right, so Job saying, who am I for you to spend your time agitating me, man? Who am I that you set up scenarios where I think something to happen and then it fall apart. I'm disappointed. I'm grieved. All right? All sorts of misfortune is laid in my path. Who am I for you to set and concoct all these things against me, man? This is Job crying out because he's what? He's agitated. And who's agitating him? The Heavenly Father. And the Heavenly Father is what? Sifting him, man. Trying him. Testing him. We all know about the bet that the Lord and Savior made. Verse 18, and that thou shouldest visit him every morning and try him every moment. Right? So, hey, you hear the testimony from all the brothers, man. I think I done heard every brother complain about having to wake up in the morning, man. Every morning you get up, the damn alarm clock, right? You feel sore. You're like, fuck, I got to go through this shit again. It seemed like nothing, even though we see the changes, but when you wake up, it's like another normal day. It's like Groundhog Day, man. That's what Job is saying here, man. And that thou shouldest visit him every morning and try him every moment. And that's what it feel like. You being tested and sifted and tried every moment, man. All right? Each scene in your day is a test, man. Verse 19. How long wilt thou not depart from me, nor let me alone till I swallow down my spittle? Right. Job saying, leave me alone, man. Just give me a moment to swallow my spit. Meaning let me just digest and process everything. And that's how it is. But you might be in the process of getting over one hurdle, then you get a phone call or some more shit, man. And I know the brothers is feeling it, man. But what? You're being sifted. The sifting never stops, bro. Sifting never stops, man. And again, we can throw that word sifting around, but until you really understand what that word means, then you can know when you're being sifted. Sifted means agitated. Your camp head telling you something every week, You get to the point you agitated. You being sifted, bro. Get another example, the book of Jonah, chapter 4. And I start at verse. I start at verse 6. And the Lord power prepared a gourd and made it to come up over Jonah, that it might be a shadow over his head to deliver him from his grief. So Jonah was exceeding glad of the gourd. Right. And when you go deep on a spiritual level, this is symbolic to the elect again, man. The shadow is this knowledge. When you first get that knowledge, getting under that shadow, you're exceedingly glad. Okay? Verse 7. But the Most High prepared a worm when the morning arose the next day, and it smote the gourd that it withered. And it came to pass when the sun did arise, that the Most High prepared a vehement east wind, and the sun beat upon the head of Jonah, that he fainted and wished in himself to die, and said, "It is better for me to die than to live." Right. So Jonah went from being exceedingly glad because he had that shade over his head. Then the shade, that tree or that gourd withered away. And who made it wither away? The Most High, man. The Lord agitated Jonah, man. These the things you can't explain the ways. That's why it tells you in Isaiah 55th chapter, my thoughts are not your thoughts, man. You can't explain the ways of the almighty, omnipotent Yahweh, man. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, man. He's a great king indeed. A king do what the hell he want to do, man. And what he want to do is sift you, man, to see if you're going to be unworthy of his inheritance. So again, let's read all this again. All right, put it all together. Jonah 4 and 6, and the Lord prepared a gourd and made it to come up over Jonah, that it might be a shadow over his head, to deliver him from his grief. So Jonah was exceeding glad of the gourd, but the Most High prepared a worm when the morning arose the next day, and it smote the gourd that it withered. And it came to pass when the sun did rise, the Most High prepared a vehement east wind, and the sun beat upon the head of Jonah, that he fainted and wished in himself to die, and said, "It is better for me to die than to live." So what happened to Jonah? He was being sifted, man. He was being agitated by the Most High. This is how the Most High get down, man. So when you catch hell, you got to realize that's the Lord doing his thing, man. That's the Lord going about his business. And that's why wisdom is the stability of our time. So hopefully this lesson will open you brothers up to know when you're being sifted. Because it's one thing to say, "Oh, I'm being sifted," but to know what form and fashion that sifting is coming, to know what the very essence of sifting is. When you're agitated, man, you're being sifted. You could be on the road, on the highway, and you about to get carnal with a nigga, man. You being sifted. So yeah, I hope it was an edifying lesson. Until the next time I say shalom.